All right, test one, two, test one, two. Looks like everything is kind of working. Oh, we're having that same problem again, aren't we? With frame rates. I don't know why. It was working great till I switched over. So let me try doing this again. But this is why we started early. Now let's get some music on. Don't know why. It's like Streamlabs OBS does that. Hmm. All right. Just doesn't like XSplit VCam anymore. All right, we'll keep working on it. But anyways, tonight we will be flying our leg of the Around the USA flights, and that's going to take us from Syracuse to Lake. We should be good once we get everything working here. Again, I'm very sorry. I have no clue what's going on with all this stuff lately, but just not working well lately with all of this stuff. So, no clue at all. I think it does have to do something with NVIDIA broadcast, but now it's working. So, see if my mic's working still. Yes, it is. All right, let's there you go. So I had to switch the camera usage in NVIDIA broadcast, and now it's working again. So, again, I don't get it, but it is what it is. And anyways, we're gonna maybe have someone flying with us tonight. Our friend Fricky, who has flown with us in a couple of other legs here. But we're gonna get this plane started up and we're gonna get going here. So, without further ado, fuel is already on. I do have to fill it though, so let me fill up the tanks, because I always like going with full tanks if I can do it, which I can, obviously. Fuel is on. Just make sure I got the check this right. Yep, because I did fly for real this past weekend in the 152. I actually went to Keene, New Hampshire. From Plymouth to Keene, New Hampshire. It's kind of like one of my longest flights ever, but it was a really nice flight. I went right over Class Bravo, just direct to Keene, New Hampshire. I got to fly near some mountains and hills. It was a good time. So, seat track back lock, avionics are off, autopilot's off, throttle 1/4 of an inch. Let's just make sure these throttle things are working. Do this. Again, I have two different quadrants, so that's why you have to kind of work it till you get to the one that you want. Throttle 1/4 of an inch. Mixture is full lean. Brakes are set. Master's on. Fuel pump shouldn't be on. Beacon's on. Okay, fuel pump will be on now. 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Full lean. Pump off. Clear prop. And mags a start while we put the mixture full rich. Here we go. And it starts up. I'm going to go to 1,000 RPMs or so. Beautiful. All right. We should see oil pressure in the green, which that's where it always ends up. I don't know why, but it does in this model. Lights as required. We'll put the taxi and the landing lights on at this time. And also the nav for the ADS-B. Seatbelt harness is good. Flaps are up. Let's check that flap switch. It's working great. And flaps are visually up. So we're good there. Heat vent defrost. Let's check out Rex Weather Force. And it says it's 53 degrees out. So yeah, I can use some cabin air. Not cabin heat for now. It's cabin heat down there. So have that go in. And there you go. Very good. Oh, I forgot to put my chat on. Sorry, if you want to chat, go ahead, because it's working now. Sorry. There's always something. At least I got the camera working faster today. Avionics are going on. Transponders on. And if you'd like to join us, by the way, I am on Microsoft Flight Simulator Traffic as well as VAT Sim, so you get to have your choice there. And we're at Syracuse, Kilo, Sierra, Yankee, Romeo, and I'm at the General Aviation Parking, so feel free to join us if you'd like to. Oh, ATIS. All right, let's go to my flight log here. And let's see, ATIS is 124.225. Oh. Switch that over here now. There we go. Let's write this down.
Syracuse Airport information Oscar 20000. Wind 14 at 8. Visibility 9er. Sky condition clear. Temperature 11. Dew point 13. Altimeter tree 0.18. ILS runway 28 in use. Landing and departing runway 28. DSR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have Oscar.
All right, we're good for now. We are on VATSIM, so we will be using online air traffic control here. And Boston Center, I think, is... Yeah, we're right on the cusp of Boston Center. So we're actually getting towards Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is our ultimate goal. That's my real-life home base. And should be good. Let me just check on Fricky here. No, Fricky will not be joining us, but he is a real-world CFI, so he's a little late overnight for him, so he's not going to join us. But feel free to join us if you'd like to. It's up to you. Without further ado... Alright, I got my altimeter, 3018, so let's put that in. Beautiful. Alright. Transponder squawk, ADSB's on with the nav lights, that's what we're picking there. Radio, we'll test it at Boston Center, so they're 134.7. You'll hear the weather for a second. Give me a second.
Airport information Oscar.
All right.
3.0, good night.
Boston Center, November 489er Echo Foxtrot radio check, please.
Boston Center, good evening, Delta 1856 is passing flight level at 327.
Just got stepped on majorly.
The November 48 Echo Foxtrot call sign, go ahead.
Just would like a radio check for Cessna 9 Echo Foxtrot.
Our 489er Echo Foxtrot, your 5.
Thank you, 9 Echo Foxtrot. Alright, tax light is required. We'll test the brakes on the way out.
You can check it out.
And we actually have to contact
Delta 1856 is passing flight level at 310.
Solo mode. Turn that down.
Delta 1856, thanks.
That's just this mic being that loud. I have the volume down to 18, so.
230.
Don't know what I can do about that.
Set about time flight level 230, Delta 1856.
We'll leave it right there, so. Alright, so gotta ask him for clearance out of the class Charlie here. And we'll get our directions.
Boston Center,
So.
044, wounds 2 or robot 3 arrival?
There 44 will be the wounds to as you have been cleared.
We got some VATSIM traffic there, maybe, because it doesn't have any call sign. So, alright, let's call it Boston Center. Here we go.
There 44, clear direct.
Well, we'll wait till they're done. It's all good. Just gotta be patient. We will be getting out of Syracuse momentarily, once I get clearance. Boston Center, November 489er Echo Foxtrot.
I would step on November 32 Papa Lima, clear direct wounds, best forward.
I'm stepping on people now.
Clear direct wounds, best forward speed, CBM to Papa Lima.
Boston Center, November 489er Echo Foxtrot.
Our 489er Echo Foxtrot, Boston Center, go ahead.
Cessna 9 Echo Foxtrot, currently at Syracuse at General Aviation Parking, requesting taxi VFR departure to the northeast, and I have the current ATIS weather here at Syracuse.
Our 489er Echo Foxtrot, Roger, would you like flight following?
Negative on the flight following for 9 Echo Foxtrot.
9er Echo Foxtrot, Romeo 10, taxi via hotel, the Syracuse altimeter 3019er.
Taxi to runway 10 via hotel 9 Echo Foxtrot.
Boston Center, good evening, Caroline 4271 Juliet, level at 55.
Alright, that means that he wants me to kind of go out of the parking to hotel. And I could take...
Carrier 5271 Juliet, Boston.
Yeah,
Center, Roger.
okay, I got it. We just gotta get out of this parking here. Alright, without further ado then, let's do it, shall we?
To the north, Montreal Center's
Here we go.
offline. Radar service terminated. Frequency change to advisory is approved. Good night.
Brakes are working. We'll turn to the right here, so make sure that we have no traffic on our right. Again, my right rudder pedal is still busted, so we're gonna do our best with it. It seems to be working fine for now, but
Boston Center, Dare 44. Can we
we'll have to work with what I got till the rudder pedals can get
R44, that's
bought.
approved. Report back.
And I'm looking for some
We'll
Thrustmaster
go there,
TPRs here, so we'll see what that can happen with that. They're all out of stock right now. So.
flight level 330.
Alright, hotel is out here. So
Arcana
that's where we're gonna
7606,
go.
Boston Center, Roger. American 49, squawk 4717 again. We're having a little trouble with the transponder.
Not a problem, sir. 4717 will do.
Hotel's this way. And now we're going straight down hotel to
21
runway
stairs,
10. We'll also do a run up
Hold
down
it,
there,
21
so.
stairs, speed.
Yes, sir, 281 knots.
So again, if my right rudder jumps a little bit, just because I'm still trying to get some new ones, so I apologize, but it's the best I could do.
Boston Center, American 242 out of 10, 4000. Boston Central, American 141 at 15,000, climbing 17,000.
32 Papa Lima.
Hope everyone's doing well tonight, and let's see.
240 knots.
Turn left to hotel here. We should,
32
Is that what's
Papa Lima,
showing?
that was
Yeah.
an error, best forward speed.
but the
That's
taxiways are a
forward.
little messed up here, so
Hogan 21.
not going that way. We're gonna keep going straight here.
Yes, sir, down to 240.
That was a little early, actually. Got it. There's the
Delta
left.
1856,
All right.
descend via the Robo 3 arrival, runway 22 left, altimeter 3025.
Should be a nice flight.
Somebody,
It's supposed to be
Robot
pretty good
3,
weather.
arrival 22 to left, 3025, Delta 1856.
We go up to 7,500 feet,
Roger, climb and maintain flight level
and that's because
360.
around Lake Placid there's some hills.
Alright, that's American.
So I want to make sure I can get a visual around those hills. Just like I did at Keene, New Hampshire for real this past weekend. It
Roger,
was,
141, Boston Center, good evening, climb and maintain flight level
I
210.
like doing it in the sim first to know that there were hills on 3-2, but the winds are under 8 knots, so I was able to take the runway 2 at Keene, because that's what they want you to take during anything under 8 knots. And it's because of the hills around there, honestly. But it was a very busy airport, and it was very, very rewarding to land there. It was very nice. So, all right, let's do a run up over here before we go to runway 10, which is right to our right here. So these taxi lights are not really doing it for me still.
5284 uniform.
So hopefully they fix that sometime.
Or 5284 uniform, turn
Okay.
right heading 180, this will maintain 10,000.
Right, heading 180 down to 1.
Rudder is hopefully working with me here. That was awfully close, but
Just confirm for
trying our best.
You said 19,000.
All right. Very good. All right, checklist for the run up. Brakes are set. Fuel set for both. Trim set for takeoff.
Stable
Good flight
1331, Boston Center,
controls.
climb maintain 16,000.
I'll maintain 16,000.
Very good. Annunciator lights. Very good. Instruments. Turn coordinators in the middle. No flag. Heading coordinates almost 130, which it is right there. Excuse me. Vertical speed looks good. Altimeter. Let's just double check that, because again the altimeter doesn't really work with Rex weather force to get out here. Should be about 400 feet. It is good.
84 uniform.
Horizon looks good. Airspeed
Airspeed
looks good. All right. We are gonna have the brakes on. 1800
Sorry about that,
RPM.
we went right. 180, TBMA 4 uniform, setting 10, 10,000.
Yeah,
Beautiful. All right, we're gonna check the right magneto. Back to both. Left. Back to both. Vacuum looks good. It's in the green. Amps should be charging slightly, but it always does this for some reason. Oil pressure, oil temperatures in the green. Idling. Very good on that. All right, back to 1,000. Let's turn this around while we brief. So, If we're on the takeoff roll and there's a problem, mechanical emergency or otherwise, we will abort takeoff, and if there's nothing available runway ahead of us, we'll abort takeoff, land directly ahead in the runway, and that's good on that. If we are under, can't think tonight. If we are under 1,100 feet and there's a problem, mechanical emergency or otherwise, we'll land directly have no more than 30 degrees turns. Best glide speed is 68. If we are above 1,100 and there's a problem, mechanical emergency or otherwise, we will take a turn to the right and land downwind on the taxiway, the grass, the runway, whatever's available to us. Best glide speed, again, is 68. With that, we will call up Boston Center. Strobe lights are going on. And we'll tell them that we're ready for takeoff.
Yes, it's going to be the J-Fund 2.
Okay. Very good.
Runway 22 left. Break, $44, Crosswinds at 7,000, the Boston altimeter 3025 now.
Crosswinds at 7,000, there, 44.
Boston Center, November 489, Echo Foxtrot.
$44, give me the best forward speed.
Best forward speed.
He sounds pretty busy, so I do those cold calls again.
2 Papa Lima Crosswinds at 7,000.
Wind at 7,000 for 2 Papa Lima.
Our flight today should take a little over an hour. Get a stopwatch ready while we're waiting. He's really busy in there.
L2680 Boston, Center Clementine 16,000.
We got a lot of traffic around Boston too, so.
Echo Foxtrot, proceed on course, runway 10, clear for takeoff.
Roger, clear for takeoff, runway 10, Cessna 9, Echo Foxtrot. Alright, he knew exactly what I wanted and he gave it to me, so good. He just really socked in there with a lot of traffic, so. With that, we are good. Again, that's why I didn't want to fly following, because, I mean, there's not a lot of traffic out here. Around Boston, yeah, there is, and I'd probably ask for flight following at that point, but. Alright, center on the runway. Very good. Okay, brakes on the floor. Rotate at 55, climb at 74. Here we go.
Hotel 3198, Toronto Center is closing your airspace to the west. Radio service terminated. Please change to advisory approved. Good night, sir.
Alright, changing to advisory. Appreciate it. Have a good night. See you.
How many hours for tonight? It'll be about an hour and 15 if I calculated right. So.
And Colvin 21 to maintain 7,000.
I think that's what you were wanting me to answer, correct? Oh, night flights? You mean real life? I have 22 landings. I can't remember how many hours right now. I actually have my pilot log right here. So once I get in the air and situated, I can let you know. So, but I'm trying to build on that this winter, especially in the Northeast where the nights come quicker now. So. In fact, in a couple weeks, I'll be trying to fly with some friends at night because they wanted to fly at night, and I already got current to take passengers up at night. So I'll let you know again when I get established. But thank you for coming in tonight.
Say again for you.
84 uniform, direct belt.
But I did take a video of the time a couple weeks, 2 weeks ago, where I got current to take passengers at night again. So
direct belt.
That should be coming out in a couple weeks. I just released a video today, and I'm getting caught up still. Now I have like 3 videos to go, because I just flew to Keene, New Hampshire, so that's like the 3rd video. Marker's going off. We're good. Alright, and with that, we are almost at pattern altitude, and we will be taking a turn
33-0 for Derek.
to the right just slightly to get out of Class Charlie, so. Actually, let me get my magnetic heading should be about 10 according to this. So I don't know about that. Actually, no, yeah, we'll take a left to 10. I was looking at the wrong thing for some reason. It gave me a line. So, alright, let's do the left turn. Clear on the left, just making sure we are good. And cruising altitude would be 7,500, which will get us over to Class Charlie here. But we are using VATSIM for air traffic control, so he cleared me through there.
UPS 905, contact Cleveland Center 134.9, good night.
Over to Cleveland Center, good night, thank you for the AGC. See ya!
Dude.
Boston Center, Cessna 9 Echo Foxtrot, just requesting clearance to the Class Charlie here at Syracuse.
Echo Foster, stand by 1, please.
Roger.
Number 32 Papa Lima, contact Boston approach 133.0.
Boston approach on 1330. CDM to Papa Lima, thank you for the ATC.
Echo Fox, send message.
Just requesting clearance through the Class Charlie here at Syracuse.
You're talking to me, and you have a mode C transponder. You're fine, sir.
Roger. Just making sure. I know I had two-way communication and everything, but just wanted to make sure that, because he was pretty busy there, and he just took get me for landing clearance, so. So he wants nothing to do with me unless I have his flight following. Which is fine.
Figure 141 descend
all right.
3
See that I'm climbing
runway
here.
22 left the Boston.
I'll see what my logbook says. It's my real one. So, just updated this last flight Saturday. I only have 7.5 hours at night.
Delta 1856,
I am up to 160 hours total though, flying, and 59.4 piloting command.
Delta 1856.
Take it as you will, but we're building on that. Cross country, we're up to 33.4. I want to get that up to 50 before I get to my instrument training. So
816 Lima Papa descend.
that's what we have. So
8,000.
that's the hours in real life.
So maintain 8,000.
Simulator, a lot more than that. So okay, we'll trim up, try to climb at 80 here. We're just about on course. Let's see, first checkpoint.
The Providence altimeter 3026.
Central Square, 11.
Expect the visual approach runway 23.
So I should be there in 13 minutes total. So let's see what that is. It's a big
Or 4271
visual
Juliet.
checkpoint,
No traffic
check-in
between
point,
you and your, destination
right near
airport.
Oneida Lake. So we'll look
Radar
for that
service
on the
terminated.
left of
Please
Oneida
change
Lake
to
over
5
here.
approved. Good night, sir.
And hopefully this thing can trim up a lot better than what it's doing right now.
Good night, 4271 Juliet.
So,
Boston Center.
but night flying is definitely something I want to do more of this winter. Again, it's just going to be limited by family time and
At 445 Boston Center, you need to climb the tank level
just
3.
getting places to fly at night. So, next flight will be Saturday, and I'm thinking May,
Colvin 21.
because I cannot
Boston,
fly to
approach
Connecticut
133.0.
anyways if I wanted to, because they're not letting Massachusetts residents into Connecticut, so, with COVID. Not that they would totally know, but I like to try to follow the guidelines. And I know last time I went to Connecticut, they made me fill out this whole form just to say I was there for like a split 5 minutes when I landed. So it was interesting. Not at the airport, they made me do it online. So 3,000, lean out the mixture here, maximum RPMs.
Boston Center Hawk 230, passing 5,000.
Right about there.
Direct merit.
And we're on course, so let's turn to 10. And keep climbing to 7,500.
Now climbing to 15,000.
Climb maintain 15,000, Hawk 230.
Hey, right in front of us, this is Oneida Lake right here. Huge lake. And we're looking for Central Square, which should be up the highway a little bit. You see a highway right here? It's supposed to be over here. I'm thinking it's this right here, Central Square. That's the visual checkpoint for VFR, the sectional. So.
Eastern 6412 Boston Center, go ahead.
We're looking for VFR out of...
But I got to fly over Boston Class Bravo this past weekend for real when I went to Keene, New Hampshire, and it was fun. I didn't get to see any big jets this time, but it was definitely fun. And I took the 152, so it was
412
it was interesting, but we got there and back.
3027, the wind at Groton's come. Would you
And
like
when
to
I
wait
do
2
get to
3
that
or
nighttime currency video of me landing at night, there was an interesting occurrence that happened while I did those, so that will also be in the video. So that'll make it worth your time while watching it. But we just published our newest video on the Eric Flight YouTube channel, and that's me landing at several local airports,
Eastern 64
along with my arch nemesis airport of Mansfield, and that's because whenever I land there, it's either a hard landing or I bounced one time. So it's I don't get it. It's like my bad luck airport.
Boston, approach
But
133.0.
we do what we can.
Presidential 56, I got your transmission. Good evening, sir. You can expect,
Once I get at Class Charlie, we'll switch to Unicom.
We have negative 8 as we as weather.
We're just about to get out of Class Charlie, whether I go above it. The ceiling's at 4,400, so I do that, and I'll go over to Vet Sim Unicom.
Presume for 56 to Bradley.
Which is 122.8.
Make
No matter where you are on that sim. And we're getting the central square. I got 7.5 minutes, so
Boston Center, America 49, stepping away 2 minutes.
I have a feeling we're gonna get there quicker than 13.
Will
But
do.
it's all an estimate on the first couple
American
ones, and then usually it lines
141,
up after a
contact
while.
Boston,
So
approach 133.0.
pretty nice scenery here. Real life weather, not real world time.
6 Lima Papa, descend and maintain 4,000. The airport is at your 12 and 1
The
6.
distance there we have Lake Ontario.
Searching, descend, maintain 4,000. 6 Lima Papa.
Yeah, beautiful weather to fly in. And this is going to be the central square there, so let's get a time check.
Pilot's discretion is descend at pilot's discretion, maintain flight level 240.
And I'm going to say it's about 9 minutes, so put that in our flight log and move on from there. $30, 35, 38, so 43. 53, just altering the times here
And
to
Boston 6 Lima Papa, airport in sight.
update it for what we got.
6 Lima Papa, clear
All right,
approach
next
runway
check
23.
point is
Clear
Maple
approach from right
View.
23. 6 Lima
That's in
Papa.
5 minutes if I calculated this right, but we're still climbing up. Not like that in the real world, and that's a little town.
6 Lima Papa,
You just
Lady Park,
basically
east
following
side of
Route
the, west.
81
Clear
here,
northeast
up
ramp.
the highway.
Sounds like black, thanks.
You'll see Maple
And
View.
we're unable taxiway Mike between Tango and Charlie.
Clean out the mixture just a little bit more. See if we can inch any
We
more
can do
power
that.
out of this. Right about there.
Roger, thank you.
Climbing at 80. But yeah,
Hawk 230, clear to route.
what's up? How's it going, Titanium Druid? Nice to see you. Pretty nice scenery around here, upstate New York. Really wanted to fly to upstate New York in real life, at least to Ticonderoga, New York, but that didn't happen thanks to COVID this past summer. So probably gotta aim for this summer. But Key, New Hampshire was cool this past weekend. It was a very, very cool place to go. Had to flight over the town,
Go ahead, sir.
do a teardrop into the 45 runway too, so.
American 242, approved, advice, thanks.
Boston Center, America 49, back with you.
American 49, thank you, sir.
Boston Center, Eastern 612, that's Rotten, ready to go running 23.
Eastern 6412, you can proceed on course run 23, clear for takeoff, wind calm.
Proceed on course, VFR, clear to take off.
But feel free to chat or just sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. That's up to you. I'm just checking to make sure things are working pretty good. We're doing good. All right. And yeah. All right. We're online on both. They didn't really check that. Let's look outside for Route 81, which is right below us. Maple View should be coming up. Little small town. I would say right about there. Calculated 14 minutes, I believe. So that indeed looks like it will fit. Now that we're at Class Charlie, let's switch over to Unicom for VATSIM. And we're on our own. We're not requesting flight following tonight. We're going up to 7,500, so. Alright. Hope everyone can hear me well enough. Things worked a little faster tonight. I've almost got it down to a science where the video doesn't have a problem anymore. And it was interesting because my son wants to stream now. He's only 7, by the way, so he won't be streaming for real. But I recorded him just on a video, streaming through this setup, and he was doing Universe Sandbox today. And I'll tell you, that kid's like a natural-born streamer. That kid can talk up a storm, so he's doing pretty good. But I guess I'm influencing him to do that, so. All right, Maple View coming up. Again, this is Route 81 going north. We're going to Watertown International. We're not going to land there. Just wanted to take a nice safe flight near Lake Ontario, and then we'll take a right. We'll go to Lake Placid, New York, which I've never ever flown to Lake Placid, New York in the simulator nor in real life. I don't think I've ever been to Lake Placid, New York. But of course, that's a famous place for the Winter Olympics. Can't remember what year though. I'll have to look that up. So, Lake Placid, Winter Olympics. Was that 1980? That might have been 1980. Because that was the Miracle on Ice Olympics. Well, 1932 it was there too. 1980, I was correct. 1980 Winter Olympics. So. Oh, really? Gators in the lake? In Lake Placid? How the heck did they get gators in Lake Placid, New York? They'd probably freeze, no? You being serious with me here? I'm actually gonna check that up now. I'm gonna put gators. Alligators in Mirror Lake. Let's see what it says. Oh, I got it. Yeah, the movie Lake Placid. I got you. Whoa, I didn't really watch that movie, but now I get it. Yeah, I got you. Mm-hmm. Watch out for them gators. You think they would be dead by the time winter would, set in, right? Interesting. All right, we're going to trim up here. We're at 7,500. Build up some speed. And then push this thing back to 2,400 RPM. So we'll also have to lean it out a little bit. Right about there. Oop, that trim's doing its thing again. Just wanting to go back up no matter what. I know I increased the RPMs very slightly, but it shouldn't be that pronounced. Alright, here we go. Hopefully this levels out 7,500 sometime. And that was my next checkpoint, which was 14 minutes. So we're doing very good there. Again, today's flight's going to take a little over an hour. Maple View is 14. Next one is Lacona, Sandy Creed track. So there must be a track or something up ahead. And oh, Sandy Creek in Lacona. I got you. All right, so no, it's not a track. It's this little inlet right there from Lake Ontario. So, and then there's a track right next to it. So we'll look for the track while we go by. Should be up here somewhere. And Lacona is a little town over here. And that's our next checkpoint. We should be there in about 5 minutes. So total flight time of 19. Very good. As soon as this trims out, the better off we are. So. Now I'm going to have to watch Lake Placid, You're going to make me do it. I'm going to be like up till like 3 a.m. tonight watching that movie, streaming it while I'm in bed. Thanks a lot. Wonder if I'll even get to sleep after that, but... Despite the title, the story takes place in that movie in the fictional Black Lake in Maine. Good, because I'm thinking about flying to Maine this weekend, so thanks a lot. And that will hopefully happen on Saturday. I'm going to take my friend up who's trying to get us private, and maybe even his son to go in the back of the 172, so we shall see. Take a look outside again. Coming up on the town or city of Pulaski, right down there. And there should be a track out here. We'll see if it's there. I've downloaded a bunch load of scenery for the simulator, so much so that it takes about a good 5 minutes to load the whole thing. But there's only one way of getting around that, and that's taking some of it out. So I do have it organized by state and stuff, but I just don't feel like taking it out. So I just let the simulator load while I do other things, and we move on from there. So, but how's everyone else doing tonight? Hope you're doing great. And I thank you for joining me on this flight. We are so close to getting 50 subscribers on Twitch, or followers, if you will. Followers. I'm thinking YouTube. We're doing better on YouTube every day too. We've up to 322 subscribers, so we're definitely getting there with more followers and subscribers, and I really appreciate that. That's kind of why I'm doing this, because I'm gonna do these sim flights anyway, so I just welcome you to come along with me. And if I can get more interactive by becoming an associate on Twitch, so be it. And with YouTube, we just have the real life videos. That's how this all started. I just post my real life flights with some sim flights, and we have fun with that as well. So out there in the distance, we have the Salmon River Reservoir. That's what this is right there. There's also the Lowville Military Operations Area, which I'm pretty sure we're going to go through. Excuse me. Military Operations Area is on our way to Lake Placid because we have to go east even more. So, but I'm really intrigued on whether they have that track here or not. So there's Sandy Pond here, which is a town. Sandy Creek, which is here. There should be a little track there. Oh, you know, you live and learn. It's okay to make mistakes, just not in the real life when it matters, you know. Then Lacona's right here, so that's why I picked out all these checkpoints. But that is it right there. I don't see that track though that they're saying, so unless I missed something. See as we get closer. It says it's from a little bit to the north of the city here, so probably somewhere around here. I mean, to be beaten by a fish is pretty violent though, don't you think? For the fish or you? That's the question though. So, I want to beat you with a fish. Again, out there would be that little inlet that I was looking for, a major visual here, but the weather has been perfect for flying tonight. Even though I don't have real world time, I do have real world weather. So right now it's doing current conditions at Oswego County Airport for weather force. So again, really nice weather, clear, 10 square miles visibility, winds are like almost nothing. You can't beat this. This is a pretty good time to fly. Alright, we are gonna say 19, I'll say 20 minutes. We gained a minute here. And that's not bad. Just to keep it accurate though, we're gonna change some times here. 36, 39, 44, 54, hour 1, hour 8, don't stray too far off, and then hour 12. Alright, next checkpoint is Adams in 5 minutes, which is probably a small town, up 81, and indeed it is. It's a little bit bigger than these little towns though, so. One more time. There's Lacona, Sandy Creek, and I do not see that track. Unless they consider that track, which it could be. I was expecting something more though. No, it is what it is. Beautiful weather though. Again, we're almost done with these Around the USA flights. We started out in June streaming on Prepared. And then we hit around Texas. Microsoft Flight Simulator came out, and I've been using it ever since, even through all the fixes and patches and stuff like that. So it's obviously a lot better for VFR with all the satellite imagery and stuff. So really appreciate the updates and stuff. We still have, in my opinion, things to fix, but they're working. They're working on things. Would love if they put seasons in it, but I know that's going to be a big undertaking with satellite data. So when I was flying this Saturday, got to see the fall foliage, not in its full bloom, just a couple weeks after. But it was nice to see all the different colors of the leaves and stuff at 8,500 feet over class Bravo. And I think I got a picture on my Discord of Boston 8,500 if I remember. So that will give you a visual at how high we really were in the 152 this weekend. Yes, I did. So if you want to join the Discord, you can see that picture. It's under the rear world flying pics and vids and discussions. So, but it was a good time. And again, that freedom that comes with flying is just amazing. That you can fly over the city of Boston and all these other towns and stuff, and get to New Hampshire and see the mountains and everything. It's pretty awe-inspiring. So, and by doing these flights, not only do we get to see in virtual terms what the world looks like, but we also get to practice our cross-country skills. So. Henderson Bay is out here, and Lake Ontario again is right to our left. Go past that way and you're in Ontario. Alright, Watertown is a Class E airport, so there's nothing to do there for air traffic control or anything. We can basically just go where we want, especially at this altitude. And then we'll take a right on course direct to Lake Placid. There's restricted airspace we're going to have to go a little south of and redirect around. But that was another thing that I did for the first time this weekend flying up to Keene. Was there was a restricted airspace right near 6 Bravo 6 in Stowe, Massachusetts, and I had to basically research that. But the ceiling was at 4,000 feet, and I was at 8,500, so I went right over it. But it's always that first time when you're like, oh, I'm going over restricted airspace. I don't know. Even if it is 4,000, it's like, oh, I'm going over restricted airspace. So it was get you over those little fears when you do something like that. And all it takes is a little research. So very good. We're only 7.5 minutes out from Watertown. So, and gold bar at the top will tell you approximately how far we are into our flight. Probably about 20%, maybe almost 20%. So, but it's been a great flight so far, and just another leg on this. After this leg, we'll leave from Lake Placid, and we'll go to a destination I want to go to in the real world. I haven't gotten that far yet, though, but it'll be the Mount Washington Regional Airport in New Hampshire from Lake Placid. That'll be the next leg. We're probably not going to do that tonight, but that's going to be a nice flight because it's going to go to the highest point in New England, which is Mount Washington, 6,000 something feet in the air. We should see that in the distance. And you could experience what I experienced this weekend with the mountains in New Hampshire. So I didn't get into the deep, tall mountains, but there was a mountain about 3,000 feet in the air to the right of Keene when I flew up there. So it was just a different aspect. And the 152 being as light as it is, you can feel all the bumps of the wind coming across the hills and everything. It was good times. Here's Adams right here. Excellent checkpoint right there. You can definitely see that. Beautiful scenery. Sun coming off Lake Ontario. Nothing wrong with that. I did set the simulator time to start around 3 o'clock, so who knows, at Lake Placid it might be getting a little towards evening. Not much, but just a little bit, and we should see maybe a little bit of a sunset. We'll have to check in what that is. But Adams, I got 26 minutes. I said 25, so about a minute ahead. That's okay still, though. It's not that bad. My tablet's not working with me right now. Come on, tablet. There you go. Yeah. For some reason, I like hold the button down to erase as a little button on the stylus, and it pops up a window. So I must be activating something on this thing. But I find it very, very useful for doing the flight logs and stuff. And obviously, I'd back it up in real life on my phone and also have it on Google Drive. So I never fly without my tablet, my phone that has the Avere program in it too, and also my paper sectional if worst came to worst. So, but all right, Watertown's our next destination, next checkpoint, and that'll be in 6 minutes. Actually, more like 5. Seeing that I've been talking for a little bit, so. You should be able to see it. It's right there in the distance, actually. So that's Watertown Airport. We'll take a right and head more east, heading about 9 or 6. And that will be direct to Lake Placid out there. So, but this will probably be the last time that we see the Great Lakes. So enjoy Lake Ontario while we can. It was quite the experience going over the lakes, though. Again, love this scenery, especially. And you know, I gotta be honest with you. This simulator has not, and I'm gonna knock on wood before I say this, has not crashed the desktop in quite a while, even with all the scenery I installed. So I'm just gonna say thank you for being a little bit more stable. Now that I said that, I'm probably gonna crash the desktop any minute, but you know, it's all good. Alright. Let's get a quick check on things. Alright, very good. Not there yet. Keep going straight. What was I gonna do? I can't remember what I was gonna do. God, I'm losing it in my old age. I was gonna do something. What was I gonna do? I can't remember. I picked up my phone. I was gonna, whatever. I'll figure it out. Alright, so again, Watertown International Airport, Class E. Take a right to 9 or 6. And Watertown, the actual city, is right out there. That's what you're seeing out there. Say one more last goodbye to the Great Lakes. Lake Ontario, it's nice seeing you. And we shall meet again in the future. When that is, I don't know, but we shall. Beautiful scenery. Oh, I know what I was gonna do. Yeah. Trim down, soon to turn right. 9 or 6, and turn direct to Lake Placid. So we shall see. Alright, we'll clear on the right, and let's start heading to 9 or 6. Here we go. Now I'm wondering if this will update, because I did put Watertown in as a waypoint. But then it should switch to Lake Placid after this, so we'll see what happens with that. And if it doesn't, I'll just put it in with the direct thing, and that's with the GPS mod. Because for some reason it doesn't let you do that. Or at least it didn't with the thing. But there you go. It's pointing to Lake Placid right now. Should be about 9 or 6. Right about there, a little left rudder. There we go. Let's also check the DG here. Yeah, it's very stable compared to the real world here. I should have had to set that just a little bit for magnetic deviation there. But we'll take it as it is. Alright, we should also tune into Watertown and get an updated altimeter setting. So 132.325. And getting a little bit too much to the south, so I'll go back to 9 or 6. And I guess it doesn't have the Watertown International weather. I'll try doing it here. 3, 2, 5. No, it does not. All right. Well, you know what? What we will do is we'll stay on the VATSIM Unicom, and we will check the Rex Weather Force. And they have Watertown right here, so let's pretend that we got the forecast as altimeter 3015. So that's what we'll set it to right now. Wrong way. And there we go. Not much difference, but you do want to update that on your way there. And if I was getting flight following, they'd probably update that as I was going. But we do have that restricted airspace up ahead with the Wheeler SAC. Looks like an Air Force base. So I'm going to head a little bit to the south now. We'll head about like 110 or so, just to get south of that restricted airspace. And again, I didn't really get to check anything like that. Oh, there you go. Alright, it seems like we're getting some weather that I don't want. So what we'll do is we'll just turn down the volume of the... right there. And that way we don't have to keep hearing that over and over again. I'm prepared you didn't have a separate volume switch. This would be the volume switch in the real world at the 530. But with that, the 122.8 must be some type of weather around here. And that is a problem with VATSIM. If they just followed real-world CTAS and stuff like that, we wouldn't have as many problems with that. But occasionally we do, because VATSIM requires you to be on 122.8 for for Unicom in around the United States and Canada and stuff like that. So if we're not being controlled, they want us on that frequency. So, but all right, we're heading south of the restricted airspace, which is out there. Again, we have Watertown right down here. Whoa, it's pretty big now, huh? Even the data seems to be downloading better tonight, so good for that. Yeah. And if you just tuned in to us, we are flying a continuation of our Around the USA flights. We're flying the Syracuse to Lake Placid leg tonight. We've been flying these since June. And we are trying to make our way back to Plymouth, Massachusetts, where we started the flights in June. We've gone around the whole perimeter of the United States, and we're looking forward to ending these flights sometime this month, so we're not that far away. Right now, just going south of the restricted airspace, R5201, and I could probably check that up really fast, but let's see if it pops up with anything. R5201. Restricted. All right, it's I don't know. It's Fort Drum, New York, and I'm trying to see if they have the actual like ceilings and stuff. You know, I don't know if I have this on my paper sectional. Because I do have the New York sectional. That's typically where I fly. So it's actually at 23,000 feet MSL. So it's a good thing that we're avoiding it. And it's for year-round, and it's for training requirements at Fort Drum. So we would have to avoid that in real life as well. Oh, excuse me. And right there would be Wheeler SAC Air Force Base out there, so they must be doing all this stuff right there. So again, we'll be avoiding that. We are going through some military operations areas, which in the real life I would check to see if they're active. I'd have flight following the whole time if I was doing that, but we should be good. Only on VATSIM here, and there's hardly any traffic, so. All right, it's been pretty smooth, and And now we're direct to Lake Placid as soon as I can get around this restricted airspace here, so. But it's all good. Clear skies, couple clouds, way up high. You can't go wrong with that. Cannot go wrong with that. That's the Air Force Base around here. At Fort Drum, excuse me. Fort Drum is right to the left here, so that's that. That's the whole reason why they have restricted airspace, all those military drills and stuff out there. So. Alright, we are definitely south of the restricted airspace, and we'll be turning back on course. Let's see what my checkpoint was. Fort Drum in 37 minutes. Yeah, I'd say it's about 37 minutes, so that's good. So we'll check that off on our log. And then our next checkpoint is Carthage, New York, which again might be... No, it's right below us almost. Let's check it out. It's right there actually, so let's head direct for that. That'll definitely make us clear of the restricted airspace out here at Fort Drum. Just south. Saranac Lake, where's that? No, I don't see it. Give me an idea of where that is in relation to West Carthage, Carthage, New York. And I will see if I can comply with that. I got Cranberry Lake up ahead. Tupper Lake. Lake Placid. We will be going by it, the upper Saranac Lake, but that's not going to be for a while. It says it's going to be about another 39 minutes to Lake Placid, so I'd estimate maybe about half an hour. So, but I got a direct route to Lake Placid, so I will give you what I can, but you'll have to hang in there until I get there, so. Yep. It's right there. It's right on my map, so. I am using GPS with the sectional here, so. So hang in there, and I will show you what I can. But right now we're over Carthage, New York, south of Fort Drum over there. Carthage will be about 40 minutes into my flight, so yep, that's good. Next checkpoint is Indian River, which would be a little town off to our right. So we'll see it as we try to get back on course after avoiding this restricted airspace over there. But I will, Cameron, I will try my best, and I will let you know when we get to Saranac Lake. Do you live around there? This is Carthage, New York. It's pretty nice. This is the thing about upstate New York and New England. It has its nice, beautiful, rural-ish areas. And this reminds me a little bit of like New Hampshire when flying, so. But alright, we're turning more on course here to get right back on a direct track here. Oh, sorry. We'll be flying over Cranberry Lake. That'll be a huge lake up ahead, but again, we're looking for Indian River up here on the right. We're not quite there yet. It's still more in front of us, actually. It's like over here. So, yeah, it's pretty good. There's still some quirks and stuff, but you can't beat the satellite imagery. Even X-Plane with ortho, it probably comes close, but I think that this has a little bit more than what they have for ortho, and you gotta burn tons of space and stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of a tie right now. X-Plane definitely has the better flight dynamics, I'll give it that, but we will check it out. Indian River should be out there somewhere. It's really small though, so I don't know what we're gonna see out there. You think so? I think the problem with Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I have a Honeycomb Alpha Yoke. I love the thing. It's probably the most realistic I've gotten to real flying. I mean, it's not like real flying still in a certain way, but it definitely is emulating the closest, and it doesn't cost you $500,000. So, but the problem with Microsoft has always been, at least with the updates, the last one wiped out the sensitivity. So even if you had it set the way you wanted, it basically wiped all that out. So you had to like go through it all over again and set it up. I use a program called SPAD though to control my Saitek, like TPM, throttle prop mixture, the radios. I have an autopilot module here, and I have all the switches. I have the switches right down here for the lights and everything. And that can hold sensitivities as well if you program it right. So the most I had to do is I had to fool around with the rudders, which honestly my Saitek Cessna rudders are on their last leg. The right rudder broke a little bit on the inside, and I tried cleaning it out, but I have to wait till all the rudders come back in stock here, because I don't want to just buy a cheap pair, and there's no cheap pairs. They're actually ripping people off on eBay. Like a pair of rudder pedals from Thrustmaster, the cheap ones that you could have gotten for like $60 when they were out. People are like getting like $160 for them now. So I'm not gonna be ripped off that much for rudder pedals. So, but I am looking for a pair of Thrustmaster TPR pedals, and everyone's out of them. And then I was actually thinking about, well, maybe I should just go for like the Redbird setup ones. I don't mind putting a little cash into it now, because honestly, I don't fly all the flights I plan, and I have some extra income here and there from not flying in the real world when the weather's bad and stuff. But I don't know. You gotta wait till everything gets back in stock, which I'm hoping that comes back in soon. So companies are saying end of November, maybe December. But if you have a pair of rudder pedals, hold on to them, hug them at night, because it is tough to get a pair unless you get on eBay, and they're hawking them for like double the price they sold for originally. So, all right, Indian River should be coming off to the right. I don't think it's that, but there is a road that should lead down to it from here. Yeah. When you get the settings just right, though, it will be better. Trust me. I think it's a little bit better than prepared on what they can do. It's just very finicky on how to set it. So, I'm taking that this is Indian River right there, because this road's going down there, and that's kind of why I picked it. So, regardless, we will get our checkpoint time from that, and we're also going to turn a little bit. We're going to go like 8-0 for a heading, so we can get back on a direct track here. What did I say for timing? I said 45. It's going to be like 46 minutes, so I'll just put that in there now. But the Honeycomb Alpha Yoke, it's probably the best of both worlds. It's affordable, and it has a very nice feel to it. You know, it's not like clanky like the Saitek Cessna one was. And I like that one because it's built like a Cessna, but this one has a lot better feel to it and everything. So, adjusting my checkpoint times. Oop. They actually have the pond south of Saranac Lake as a checkpoint here, so we will definitely get around there. Alright, Cranberry Lake is our next one, and that's in 10 minutes. So, I have my stopwatch again on my Garmin Pilot Watch, it's what I use in the real world, so. And we practice our cross-country procedures here, so. It's all good. We get to see the country on the simulator, practice real world cross-country, and get everything going. Cranberry Lake is a huge lake, probably out here in the distance. So, excuse me. I don't know what that is. Oh! Well, thank you very much for following me on Twitch, and that is Yeller133. Thank you so much. We're down to, I think, 5 more followers till we get to 50, and then I have the chance to become an associate. You can offer more interactivity on the Twitch streams. So, if you like what you see, feel free to follow. But thank you so much, Yeller133. And we're making our way through the Carthage East military operations area. It's all military operations areas around here. So, in the real life, I would have flight tracking and ask if they're active, and I probably would have checked out on the ground before I took off anyways, knowing where I was going. So, but we are 30 minutes out from Lake Placid, so you figure probably about 20 minutes away from Saranac Lake, and I will try to get you some good views of that, Cameron, so that way you can see what it looks like in the simulator. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, I released a new Eric flight video on YouTube today of just going around the area and landing at many different airports. It didn't work out for weather that day to go to Danielson, Connecticut, but I did eventually get to Danielson, Connecticut, and I will make that video. I have 3 more lined up and ready to go. I just got back from Keene, New Hampshire this past Saturday, and that was a wicked awesome flight. So, but what type of rudder pedals do you have? Oh, you need rudder pedals. That's right. You said you needed them. So, what are you thinking for rudder pedals then? Because I'm taking like people's opinions into mind. But I'm thinking the Thrustmaster TPRs, which are expensive, but they're built well, and I want the one that's not the full foot design. I want it to be more like a Cessna, where you have to get in the balls of your feet. So. Oh, cool. Oh, hey, you're in Massachusetts. I'm Massachusetts. I actually trained out of Plymouth, and that's where I fly out of still to this day. So, maybe we'll meet up someday. You never know. 7 Bravo 2. Not familiar with that. Let me look at Sky Vector for that. See how far away you are from Plymouth. 7 Bravo 2. You're not that far. You're about an hour out. Yeah. Did I get that right? No. For some reason it's saying Syracuse still. Excuse me. About an hour out. Yeah, you're about an hour out. Northampton. Yep. I actually went by the Quabbin Reservoir when I came back from Keene this past week, and I got some nice pictures of it, so I'll hopefully put that in the feature video. But yeah, I got right up to Keene, and Quabbin Reservoir was in my right, because as I was going back, I went around the Class Bravo Boston airspace, but when I went up to Keene, I went right over it at 8,500, so yeah. So Northampton, I might actually make that one of my destinations, because I'm trying to hit different airports as I fly, but yeah. So we were in the same neighborhood if you were flying this Saturday. And to be honest with you, I've never been, I don't think, that far in a car, because I mean, I used to gig around the area. I'm basically a trained musician, but I think the furthest I went out there, I went to like upstate New York and Albany and stuff, but I never really went Western Mass and did much of anything. I gigged in Fitchburg, I gigged in Worcester, but never really made it out that far. But I have studied the Quabbin Reservoir and the history of it all, where they basically took those towns out there and just made it a big thing. So yeah, you'll be doing that for a while. Get comfortable with that pattern, because that's the big learning curve of the private pilot. So, but yeah, yep. How many hours you in, if you don't mind me asking? See, I have a wife and kids, so it took me quite a while because it was not as consistent as I would have been. Yeah, I'm up to 160 flight hours total now, and then I got my private last year. I'm like a year and a couple weeks over when I got my private, so. Yeah, so you're in the, well, you know, if you're doing that and you're doing some good landings, I know the hardest thing for me and a lot of people is developing that feeling of the flare and using your peripheral vision out the side to get that perfect angle down so it lands nice and easy. So But you flying what type of aircraft you flying? Cranberry Lake again, coming up ahead. We're right over here. That's our next checkpoint. Turn more on course. And there's a bunch of lakes. So listen, this is how the lakes are going to go. We got Cranberry right here. Then further ahead as we go on course, we're going to hit Tupper Lake. And then as we get further ahead, to the left will be the upper Saranac Lake and the lower Saranac Lake. So we'll try to let's go look there and see what we can see. Yeah. It is. It's hard. Yep. And that's why eventually when you have to do your nighttime landings, 10 nighttime landings, this is the perfect time to start doing them because the hours set back and getting dark. I want to increase some of my night flying. In fact, someone asked me early in the stream how many hours a night I have. I only have 7.5. So. No, not yet. Yeah, I trained in the 152, and then after I got my private, that's more of a cost thing. I was actually lucky that my instructor and I could fit in that thing. For my check ride, I actually had to take out like fuel. I had to go from, what was it, 26 gallons down to 17, because me and the instructor, we were pretty heavy for the 152. So, but it was a good weight and balance for him too. Show him that I could do that. But I fly the 172 usually when I do passengers, and the 152 is like this past weekend where I went solo up to Keene, New Hampshire. So, good times up there. It's really nice scenery up there too, you know. So, I just find it amazing still that you can fly for an hour and go to New Hampshire, and then another hour, well, not even an hour. I think it was like 50 minutes around the Class Bravo when I was back in Plymouth, so. It's just funny you could say, I went to Keene, New Hampshire and back today, and it's like within like a couple hours, so. Alright. You got Star Lake over here. That's what that thing's called. I guess, because there's a town called Star Lake right there, which is right there. And it's a little hilly here, but it's not that bad at all. Basically on our direct course again. Let's go to Lake Placid. Yep. Block Island I've been to. That was one of the first destinations I went to. Once I got my private, I went on December 23rd, which is not peak season. And I was at about 3,000 feet. I was descending from 6,500 because I was going over Rhode Island Sound. I actually grew up in Rhode Island, so. And I got my first touch of carb icing there. And yeah, I didn't poop my pants, but it was the first real life time that I was like, oh god, I got carb icing. And I didn't figure that out at first. I was fooling around with the mixture because the engine was sputtering. And when I knew it wasn't the mixture, I said, all right, carb beat on, and it cleared out within seconds. That's on a video on the Eric Flight YouTube channel, excuse me. So check that out. But all those things you're going to learn, they mean something. I'm just going to let you know that now. So, yep. I'm thinking about going this weekend with a friend and maybe his son. I'm thinking maybe Portsmouth, Maine, because Connecticut doesn't want us in there right now from Massachusetts because of COVID. They're like the only state in New England that doesn't want us there. But I did a lot of flights to Connecticut in the summer. So I'm pretty good for those destinations. They have some really nice little airports. And sad but true, I haven't flown a lot to Rhode Island because they charge landing fees for out-of-state aircraft. So I figured I'd just stick to the airports that don't charge landing fees and then eventually hit Rhode Island. So, but I grew up in northern Rhode Island, so I kind of miss not doing it. But whenever I fly to Connecticut, I always fly over Providence, Class Charlie airspace, so I get to see it from the air. And I actually took pictures of my old house and everything. So I rent. I'm slowly saving up for a plane. Not sure if that's going to be feasible with my wife. She won't even get in a plane with me nor allow the kids in. So I have to respect that. And instead I just fly friends and stuff like that. We go on little trips. So, but yeah, I rent out of Plymouth at the same flight school I got my private at. So, and I plan on maybe plan on doing the instrument rating once I get to 50 cross country hours. So that way, the cross country time outside of the instrument training is done. And then my instructor made a good point. He's like, you know, you should take a longer cross country before then too. And this is not something I even want to pursue. But he's like, but for the commercial license, you need a cross country 250 nautical miles. So he's like, if you take a long one, you just get out of the way. And that way, if you ever want to be a CFI, you can do that. But we are arriving here at Cranberry Lake. And to be honest with you, I just want the instrument rating to be safer, and if I ever were to own a plane, the insurance would hopefully be a little cheaper. So, but I fly 172s and 152s. It's actually pretty accurate if you use the real world winds aloft and everything. It's pretty much like real life. It's a really good way of practicing your cross country timing and dead reckoning and stuff. So like I calculated what, 56 minutes. My watch said it's like 57 and a half. So it's a little off, but it's never accurate in the real world either. It should be like a minute or two off at most, though, not like 10 or anything like that. So, but I find it pretty accurate. And again, I use Rex Weather Force for weather though, so that kind of makes a difference too, because it has the winds aloft a little bit better than the default weather. The default weather is not as good. So, but I will say this: it doesn't. The airplane, like, this is calm weather and it's clear, but it doesn't have the little buffeting that it has from winds once in a while when you're up in the air. And when you're landing, that's not really realistic either. Like if you have a crosswind, it really doesn't nudge the plane over that much at all. Like once in a great while it does, but it's not the most accurate. And as far as crosswind correction, when you put the wing into the wind and then you got the rudder to line up the nose in the middle, that's you really don't have to do as much of that because the winds still aren't really pushing. All right, 52 for Cranberry Lake. Tupper Lake, that lake I told you about, it's in 7 minutes. And again, that should be out in front of us right here, I believe. I'll tell you one thing, the satellite imagery, you can't beat that. This looks really authentic, honestly. So, and you can get your checkpoints really easy if you plan them out. So, remember that yellow 133 because you want to learn this stuff when you go in your cross country. And you can actually preview your flight on here and get used to it. For example, when I flew to Keene this past Saturday, I knew kind of where the hills and mountains were right around the airport, so I knew what to anticipate when I got there. And again, I'm not used to flying around mountains and stuff because I'm out of Plymouth, so we're like sea level over there, basically. And but see, this kind of looks like New Hampshire now because you have the hills coming up and everything. So we're only 17.5 minutes out from Lake Placid, so we're definitely getting there. And then our flight will be done for tonight on this leg of the Around the USA flights. Okay, next flight leg will be from Lake Placid, and we're going to New Hampshire, so we're definitely making it back to the areas where I do fly in real life. But we'll be going to Mount Washington Regional. So, yeah, I heard that too. I'm not a virtual reality flyer, but for people who are, that's going to be awesome and exciting. I also heard that when they release the Xbox version, we might have DirectX 12. And I know that when I was flying on Prepared, when it went to DirectX 12, I actually got a frame rate increase. But right now, I'm doing pretty good. I'm getting about 30 to, I average about 40. So about 40 frames per second. And that's with all the scenery installed and everything. I basically went to flightsim.to, whatever that thing is online. And I downloaded a crap load of scenery and just installed it. So it takes a while for the sim to start up, but it's nice to have a bunch load of freeware scenery. And I have a bunch of Orbex stuff that I bought and everything, so here we go. So we're getting some buffeting now with the winds. And that's probably, again, because we're getting to the hilly part here. And we could also check the MEDAR. See, it doesn't say much for winds, but that must be the hills coming up ahead with the wind buffeting. So that's a little lifelike. That happened to me in Keene this past weekend. Yeah, a little bit of wind coming across the hills. So, but they still have a bunch of things to fix, and it's not that you can't fly this. It's just like that. The taxi lights at airports, they drive me insane. They're all over the place. They're like in the middle of a taxi here and there. But I like flying at night in the simulator on this the best because I'm prepared. It looked a little unrealistic, and this, at least, it looks kind of realistic. Like you can see cities in the distance, and the lighting looks real. So I actually like flying night flights in this compared to other ones. In fact, the last leg I flew was at night on this for my Around the USA flights, and all those flights are archived on the Eric Flight YouTube. So if you want to spend some of your life on that, I have all the Around the USA flights in order. So I have not tried Tracker. track IR. I did try facial recognition software, but it just wasn't for me. I have a triple monitor set up, so at that point I kind of had everything spread out. But with streaming and stuff, I kind of use the middle monitor for the sim, and then I have like the apps on the left and right here. Like I just drag this on there for the frame rate. This is what I use for that gold bar at the top. It's called the Fly Live software, and it kind of tells you all like my, excuse me, my climb, my altitude, stuff like that. So, but then I have Sky Vector and stuff over here on my right. So, not that I use that. I kind of pop it out here and there to show people what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. So, my son and I built this computer. I had a gaming laptop. I use it for work because I'm a music teacher and we do like audio recordings and stuff like that. So, I don't know if Sky Vector can integrate with the sim. I actually use this thing like I use in real life. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. This is the Avera app, and this is the tablet I use for an electronic flight bag when I fly. And then I have this thing that sends the GPS data from the sim to this, so it acts like a real GPS. And I just follow the sectional on this thing. So, and that way you get used to what you use in the real world. And the best part, it's for Android. I don't like Apple products. Just me. Not saying if you like them, there's something wrong with you. And it does everything I need, and it's free. So, can't complain. I can even write on it with my stylus, because it's a Samsung's tablet. So I write like all like the weather and stuff on there, like we're gonna do in a little bit. So, but here's Tupper Lake, and Upper Saranac Lake will be up here somewhere. So keep an eye out, because it's coming. Cameron, I might even send the drone out there if you want to get a good look. I just hope it doesn't crash the sim, and it hasn't recently. But once in a very great while in the past, the drone, if I sent it out too far, would crash the sim. So, we'll see. But I use Sky Vector for my flight planning, my real-world flight planning, and also everything else. So, I mean, I own a plotter and everything, but it's just faster on Sky Vector to get the distances and the track and everything like that. So, save some time. Over the lake, I'm going to be to the south of it. And I'm not going to be that far south of it. So, let's see, hour 4, 5. Let me just get my time here. Hour 5, that's good. So it says 7 minutes I'll be at a pond south of Saranac Lake. There's Tupper Lake. Now I'm thinking it's out here. I'll send the drone out, bud. I will. Let me figure out what I said about the pond south of Saranac. I think I meant the... Oh, it's that little circle pond. Alright. But we're going to have to start doing a descent, getting weather here. Let me get the weather for Lake Placid. And I'm going to use Adirondack Regional because they don't have a weather station at Lake Placid. So let me get that stuff set up. And then we'll talk about all that. So hopefully they have Saranac Lake. Adirondack Regional. I do have to turn the volume up though. Oh, come on now. No, that didn't work. Alright. Something's happening here what's not switching. Alright. No. Come on now. This is a bug with the comms here. Alright, we're gonna cheat again. We use weather force here. Clear, winds 050 at 3. Let me write this down.
Sky condition clear. Temperature 23 C dew point. 13 C altimeter 3021. Kilo Sierra Lima Kilo automated
See altimeter
3020.
3020.
Wind 313 at 25.
And we should be good after that. Alright. Yep. This hell just fell out of its case.
Temperature
We're gonna have to get a new case.
13 C altimeter 30.
Alright. So we got the weather. Go back to VAT Sim Unicom. Of course, this thing's still gonna have a bug. Things like this, you know, it's just like Alright. So that definitely is not going to help us on the simulator there. Little things like that aren't going to help us. Saranac Lake is over there. If you can see it, this is the upper Saranac. So take a look at it. And we'll send the drone out here. This is the upper. This is the lower. I'll start descending too, so let me do that. Set it on a cruising descent. I'm going to go 2,100-ish. That should go to about 500 RPMs. And let's send the drone. Send in the drone. Alright, I'm going to the Saranac Lakes here. Problem is I can't fly it when I'm doing the drone, so. But this is the upper Saranac Lake. I'm looking at my sectional to help me here. So I don't know if that looks familiar to you. And this one is the lower Saranac Lake. And this would be Saranac Lake, the town or city. It's still loading, so I'll try to leave it where it is. But that's what it looks like. So, look familiar? I always look for schools. Schools seem to be some of the biggest buildings here. And I'm going to be way off course when I go back, so. Yeah, this is the town right here. This is Saranac Lake right there. So, looks like you got a school right there. It's going to keep moving because it's tracking my plane. And if not, you can look back at this stream when it's archived on the Eric Flight channel. But yeah, does it look familiar? Right between those mountains and everything. So cool. We'll zoom right out and go higher and higher. Yeah, I'm trying my best, man. I try to aim to please. Now let me get back on track. Oh, way off. Way off. But again, you can't fly the plane when you're doing the drone. So forgive my little turn to the south here. And let's get back on course. It's okay, because I had to descend and it's going to take some time to get down there. But right now we're looking south at Long Lake. That's Long Lake out there. And we're getting quite the sunset here. Kind of planned that a little bit by setting the flight time to start at 3 o'clock. So we got some mountains. The Adirondack Mountain is south of Lake Placid, which is why I went at 7,500. But the tallest peaks are about 4,361. But the way I wanted to go is not going to have the mountains. So again, we'll head to the north again and get going here. Hey, what's up? My procedure for landing, I got winds at 050, so I'm thinking runway 14, which is north, and I'm thinking that I could overfly the airport. Might be nice to see it. And, well, you gotta think of the safest. Is my heading working? It doesn't look like it's working, does it? Oh no, do I have an error? Uh-oh. That could be a bug. I can't even toggle the yoke visibility here. What's going on? Well, that's definitely a bug in simulator, so let's pretend it's an emergency. I have no heading and I'm using my GPS. Oh wait, it's working now. Alright. So like I said, it's a little buggy here and there. Let's get some lights on this cockpit first off. I'm descending right now to get down towards pattern altitude. So let's but I think I'm gonna overfly the airport and do a left 45 to the downwind for runway 14. So right now it's just losing altitude. That's what we have to do. I will do it step by step. I just gotta get more on a direct track here to Lake Placid, which is out here, by the way. And Saranac Lake again is right above us, right here. So the town that we just visited for Cameron is towards the lower Saranac Lake over there. And you can see a beacon out there in the distance, and that is not it. That's Adirondack Regional, which is where we got our weather from. So, but again, if we're gonna step through this, here's the current METAR at Adirondack Regional, and I'm gonna do a teardrop. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna turn right or left on that teardrop, but it's gonna be intercept the 45 for runway 14. We'll overfly the airport. It's a good thing to do anyways, because I've never flown to Lake Placid before. Excuse me. And that way you can kind of see the airport and what's going on with it before you get in there. But it's gonna be quite the crosswind, and I have a app that will calculate crosswinds here. So let's see what I'm looking at for a crosswind. I use this app called Flight Winds, and you enter in the runway and stuff. I'd show it to you, but it's probably not going to show up on the camera. So I got runway 1432, and the winds are what, 050 at 8. I wrote it down. Just give me a second here. 050 at 3, so that's not much at all, but we'll see what my crosswind component is. 050 at 3. So on runway 14, we're looking at a headwind of 0 knots and a crosswind 3 knots from the right. So in other words, there's going to be wind coming 3 knots from the right, which isn't much at all, honestly. So we also got to trim down to try to get 500 feet per minute. And we're heading north to the Saranac lakes there. So, but now we're going to turn right and go direct to Lake Placid. Again, these are the mountains I was worried about as I was descending, and they're at 4,000. So we're just going to keep an eye on those. And it's called a teardrop because you literally like turn a quick turn into the 45, so it's like resembles a teardrop shape. And well, it all depends because you got some mountains out there. We have mountains at 3,900, which is why it makes it a little more challenging to get into Lake Placid. You can see that the winds are making the aircraft a little bouncy, and that's the winds coming over the hills. I think Microsoft Flight Simulator does a good job with that, but we're landing 14, yep, because the winds are from 05, and you typically want to head into a headwind, but there is no headwind to be had. I can go 3-2 or 14, and it's actually 3 knots from the left. I read the wrong one. But 3 knot crosswind component is not much. Private, I was rated for up to 7, and that was, well, student. Now I think I'd be good enough for about 10, so the first step is finding the airport and flying over it. So we'll report our position in a little bit. We're still 11 nautical miles out. So typically 10 to 7, you give a little radio call. Just let people know a heads up on where you are. And as far as VATSIM, which is online air traffic control that I'm using, here's where we are. And there's Lake Placid. So there's no one really around me. So they might not even hear me out here. So he's in a Piper, I think. So yeah, Plymouth's nice though because it has the crosswind runways, except 1533 has been closed due to moving the taxiway. So, well, around 10, 7, you know, it depends. I mean, if you were tuned into the real world CTAP, which is 122.8, you'd start hearing traffic if there was any. But 10 to 7 miles I'd call out, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. We're about 9 miles out right now, and the Lake Placid Airport's right there. So you just gotta report who you are, where you are, and let them know what you're gonna be doing. So I do something like this. Lake Placid traffic, Cessna 9 Echo Foxtrot, 9 miles to the west. We're gonna be overflying the airport at approximately 3,000 and setting up a 45 for runway 14, Lake Placid. Now that was a lot. You didn't have to say all of that. You could have just said 9 miles to the west, gonna overfly the airport. And then as you get closer, you can get more detailed. But you could also spit it all out there, and that way they kind of know. And if anyone hears you and they're kind of out there, they're typically going to radio you back because this is non-tower, non-controlled. So it's all about radio communications here and making sure that you're looking out the window and stuff. So, but again, we got to be careful at some peaks here. Pattern altitude's 2,800. So, you know, actually 2,750. So I'm actually going to overfly the airport at more like 4,000. So I'm coming from the west. So I'm west of the airport. Yeah, west of the airport. So when I said to the west, that means west of the airport. And feel free to go back in the archive videos on the Aeroflight YouTube channel of all the streams, and you can kind of see it. Sure. So I'm going to say who I am, where I am, and what I'm going to be doing. So I'm about 6 miles out, so here we go. I'm going to make that call again. Lake Placid traffic, Cessna 9 Echo Foxtrot, 6 miles to the west. We're going to be landing and setting up a 45 to runway 14, Lake Placid. And you can see that wasn't perfect, but it kind of gets the idea of where you are and what you're going to be doing so they can look out for you. They know to look west and that you're a little bit further out, and they're going to be looking for you. So, Lake Placid, by the way, is up there. And the city should be right north of the airport. It's probably right in here. But we'll send the drone out after we land. We're going to land first. And the airport's right there, so. Okay, we're at 4,000 feet, so I'm going to increase the RPMs. I'm also going to enrich in the mixture a little bit. We enrich in the mixture while we're doing that. But, yeah, you just got to let people know where you are if it's not controlled, so. Well, here I am. There's the airport. And I'm to the west because north of the airport would be Lake Placid right here. So west is this way and east is that way. So we're also coming from the west. I'm heading east, but I'm coming from the west. So when you relate directions, you want to relate it into where you are in relation to the airport so they know where they're looking. All right, if you said heading east, you can get more confused on that because then you'd be maybe looking to the east going, where is he? Where if you said I'm this many miles from the west, it is. What's up? How's it going? How's it going? See, I remembered. I think I remembered. I think I got that. Alright, so listen, we're about 3 miles out, so I'm going to go Lake Placid traffic, Saranac and Foxtrot, 3 miles out. We're going to overfly the airfield at 4,000 Lake Placid. And that's all you had to say. They know to look for me 3 miles to the west, and then I should be going over the airport at 4,000. Basically, you know that you're going east, south, north. You kind of have a visual and you study your route before you start flying, and they'll give you an idea of where you're coming in. For me, you can also back that up with my moving electronic flight bag map, which is the sectional. In the real world, you just have a paper one of these, and you'd already have your route planned, so you know exactly where you're coming from, and that's how you would know, if that makes sense. Okay, I also have to climb to 4,000. This is going to be a tight turn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head a little bit to the north. Then I'm going to do a teardrop, a big one, because there's mountains right in front of us, as you can see. And they're at 4,000, so we don't want to go into those. So I'm going to turn to the left, do a big teardrop, and then set up a 45 for runway 14. The other thing is I had to make sure that was a left pattern, which it is. And you can check that on the chart supplement. So, you can also use compass, your DG here. Look, I'm heading east. That's north, that's south, that's west. Your compass kind of tells you that you're heading east. So, that's how you can tell all this stuff. So, south, east, north, west. Okay, we should be flying over the airport pretty soon. Or maybe we did. Oh, you were right there. Very good. Alright, so now we're going to start descending again. So we're going to 2,100, which should set us up for cruising altitude. We're going to look to our left. We're clear. That's Lake Placid, by the way. Alright, and we're going to have to make this a tight turn here. So, and there's not any traffic calling back. So we know that we have pretty good clearance here for traffic. But again, we're going to be kind of turning into this whole thing with the mountains. That's what makes this difficult, so. And at this point, I might not even do a teardrop. But I'm going to do it for an explanation here. So I'm going to turn right here. I have to be careful of these mountains while I do it. Little right rudder to keep me on there. And this is probably not the best way to set this up. But like I said, we'll do it. So this is what the teardrop is. It's basically turning a full circle back towards the airport. And we're going to be a 45-degree into the downwind for runway 14. We're still good though. See, we just had to make it pretty tight and early. Good for that airport. All right, there it is. We're going to head for the middle of the runway now, and that'll be the 45. We're also going to descend to 2,750 to get down to pattern altitude, which we should be. So that's what I'm doing. Yep. All right, there's the runway. Right, so I'm going to head towards the middle of it. And I'm at a 45-degree angle so I can see anyone coming in or anyone in the pattern. And that's why it's the best way of me getting into the pattern. So, all right. Mixture's all the way in because we're at 3,000. Lake Placid traffic says 9 Echo Foxtrot, 45 left downwind, runway 14, Lake Placid. And they would definitely know to look here right now, so. Okay, so we're about pattern altitude. Let's get the RPMs up here. And now we're going to turn left downwind. This isn't the best way, but I was kind of rushed with those mountains. So. Okay. Rushing it a little bit. You should be about halfway up the wing strut here. That's about the distance you want. So I'm a little close, but again, you have mountains over here, so you gotta be careful. And I'm gonna beam the numbers here, so that's where I'm gonna start my descent here. I'm gonna go to 1700. Okay, I'm under 110 knots, so I put the first 10 degrees in. That's what you could do on the 172. I'm showing the technique red now. So 1700. I got 10 degrees. I'm going to do a little extended downwind because I'm not used to the runway, so I'm going to go right over Lake Placid here. Good. Let's turn left downwind. I check. Left is clear. And I'm going to pull back a little bit here. I should be about 80 knots. Carb heat's not required in this because this is fuel injected, but you'd put carb heat on before you go to 1700 in a carbureted engine. This has fuel injection, so it's a little different. All right. The peripheral vision is what sucks on the simulator. So as soon as I'm in downwind, and I'm going to go to like 1.4 here, that's going to be on my left. But in the real world, you'd have your head up and you'd be looking for that runway. Right about there. All right, I'm going to go to 1500 now because I'm on base. I'm in the white arc, 10 degrees of flap, so I'm at 20 total. I'm going to look and I'm going to turn final. And I'm going to keep it around 70 knots, so if I have to put a little more RPMs in there, I will. We have to keep that descent around 500 feet per minute. And it's the same thing in the 172, I mean the 152 by the way too. 1700, be around 80 knots. See, that peripheral vision sucks, but that's why I extended the downwind so I have time to get back on track. That's just a simulator thing. In the real world you could see out the left. And if you had tracker IR, it'd probably be better too. Track IR. Alright, we're a little fast. I'm going to pull back the RPMs. I'm also going to level out. And if I'm too fast, I pull the throttle all the way out and I put my 30 degrees of flaps in. As long as I'm in the white arc, I'm fine. I want to land at about 65 knots. So you can see that we're setting this up pretty good. And I know this is a lot that I'm saying, but you kind of get used to this by doing the pattern. Again, Piper might be different. I'm not really sure what you aim for there. Your instructor usually gives some things to aim for. But we're a little fast still. But the Pappy, see that? Little low. But we're good. We're right on the runway now. So here we go. And I should have called all those things out, but seeing that no one was around, I didn't bother. All right, throttle's out. We wait till about 9-10 feet off the runway, then we flare up. And there we go. In the real world, you'd probably flare more, though, by the way. All right, good. Flaps up. You'd also turn the carb heat off if you had carb heat. Again, my right rudder's a little broken here, so I'm not going to rush it. Let's say that you overshot that and you didn't want to go all the way down there and there's no one around. You could kind of back taxi on this, but let's go all the way down. And this is what you do to be safe. This is a lot safer than back taxiing, so 70, yeah, it's like 65 in the 172. The 152 you could aim for 60. So, but see how like I'm here? So I am going to have to back taxi because there's no way of getting there. So I'm going to turn around. And again, you would study this in real life before you take off for Lake Placid. So let's do a quick turnaround here. Lake Placid traffic, Cessna Echo Foxtrot, back taxiing runway 14 to taxi off the runway, Lake Placid. Again, my rudder's not working that well, so just kind of go with that grass thing there. Okay. But welcome to Lake Placid, and we will send the drone out in a little bit once I get to park this. It's all about announcing who you are, where you are, so that way people can look out for you. So here we go. I'm going to take a left here. I don't even know where the parking is. See that little light there? That wouldn't be there in real life. That kind of makes me angry. Now these are the lines that we have to cross to be clear of the runway. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to report that we're clear of the runway. Lake Placid traffic, Cessna Echo Foxtrot, clear of runway 14, Lake Placid. And now we're going to go to our checklist for the post landing. And it says flaps up. I already did that. Strobes off. Turn them off now. Landing lights and taxi lights I leave on for maximum visibility, but they say as required, and you can turn landing light off. I like to leave it on. Maximum visibility. Trim set for takeoff. Right up there, so it's good. And with that, you're good to go. Park. Now, here's where I'm a little confused. So what I usually do, even in the real world, I'll do this in advance. I'll go to Google Maps. And I will check up Lake Placid. Which is, what is it? KLKP. That's what I thought. I was just double checking. Airport. Okay, it'll take me here. And then I get the satellite imagery on. And it'll show me where the aircraft generally park, which is right here. So I'm over here right now. I'm going to go up here and park right there. So, there you go. Alright, so let's do that. Back in the plane. You could call your taxi if you want to, but seeing that's pretty dead out here, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to taxi off. And there you go. Who you are and who you're addressing, exactly. You don't always have to say who you are at the end, but you definitely want to say again who you're contacting, like Lake Placid. So that way, if they didn't hear it the first time, they hear you the second time. I'm going to park over here. And making our way over there. Is that the Microsoft ground crew over there? I don't know if that would be in real life either, because this is a pretty small airport, but... Or is that the windsock? No, that looks like a windsock. But as you saw on Google Maps, you could park over here in real life. So fuel trucks over there too. And with that, welcome to Lake Placid, everybody. That is there a marshal? See, I doubt, well, this is here. They definitely don't have those little pushback cars in real life, but I didn't see a marshal here, so let's just park it over here. It doesn't matter. Again, in real life, once you got it lined up, you can have the tow bar goes on the front wheel, on the lugs of it, and you can push it wherever you need to, believe it or not. You can just basically push it with the tow bar to turn the wheel. Alright, close enough. So, brakes are set. I'm going to go to 1,000 RPM. That's usually where we leave it when we're idling, so you don't fall any mags. And we're going to go to the securing checklist. ELT, verify silent. Avionics off, that means turn off the radios and everything, and all lights except for beacon. Okay, you could also turn off the cockpit lights if you didn't need them. So, it is what it is. You turn off whatever you need. You could also wait till after you turn off everything on these, but whatever electronics you could turn off would be better, because you're trying to take the load off the electronics. The electrical system, if you will. So, not that you have to dim that all the way. I'll get the rest of it after. Avionics off. Mixture is going to be full lean. So we pull out the mixture, which is the red handle. When that stops the engine, we're going to turn the key to turn the magnetos off. Master is going to go off, and then the lights off, and then again, you could turn off all the other stuff. So, and that's it. Parked. We're going to put the parking brake on. In the real world, though, in the Cessnas, we typically don't use the parking brake unless we really have to, because it's a hydraulic system. Light fund injection. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the tip. That will definitely go towards flying, so thank you. Maybe if that little trip to Maine that I'll be doing this week. But this parking brake here on the Cessnas, it's all hydraulic, so if you have a little leak in your hydraulic lines and you leave your plane there for a while, probably not going to have brake fluid when you come back. So that's why we typically just chalk the plane up. But in the simulator, you can do that without worry. So we set the parking brake, and we're good. And let's take a look outside at Lake Placid. We'll send the drone out in a second. This is the default scenery, by the way. That fuel truck, if you hit Shift F, it's supposed to come over if you're in a parking space. I don't know if that's going to happen, but let's try it anyways. Shift F. It's coming over, and it doesn't take half an hour like some airports. So let's see them refuel the truck. Refuel the plane. Come on over. America Foxtrot needs some fuel. They're very expedient. I know in Plymouth sometimes you can wait up to half an hour. That's why you check the fuel quantity first, so that way you can make sure you get them over there in an expedient manner. Sometimes they're right there, though. They are very nice guys, so. But all right, it's gonna ask me what fuel I want and how much I want. So let's do that first. It's a little cool to see that in simulator. Yep. Yep. We have in Plymouth they drive on over, but there's also an island that you can go to and fill yourself. But at the flight school, you usually just call them on over and they kind of fill it and top it off. So I can in a second. Let's try to look at Lake Placid after on the drone here. But yeah, if you just give me a second here, I'll go through things for you. Okay? Yep, I'll go through everything for you. All right, so that's a fuel truck. You just fill it up and you're good for the next flight. Let's look at Lake Placid and then we'll come back for the lights. Okay? Oh, hello. Let's go back to the plane. Oh, see what I'm saying? I didn't damage my landing gear. So listen, bear with me while I start up again in Lake Placid. That stinks. That happens with the drone sometimes. All right, Titanium Druid, thank you so much for tuning in. And I will try to get us back to Lake Placid. It might be a day, but give me a second. KP, right? Yeah. All right, we'll go right back where I was in taxi. Parking, I mean. Right about here. All right, and let me turn off the weather. You know what? We'll go live weather. How's that? There you go. And let's fly. You might have to give it a minute to load up, but then we'll talk about lighting and stuff. Let's get again a visual on Lake Placid. And again, sorry about that. For some reason, like when you send the drone out and it's a big long distance, sometimes it crashes well, it tells you crashed even though you didn't. You were clearly parked with the parking brake on. So, thank you for your patience. But I hope you enjoyed the flight. And again, we will get on the lighting for you. I have no problem doing that. Again, just got to take some time. See what happens here. Microsoft's got to fix that too. I tried to look at Disneyland when I was in Santa Ana, California on these flights, and it kept saying, it said the same thing. Oh, you ruined your landing gear. You crashed. And I was like, I did not. I was parked with the engine off. So, it is what it is, though. All right, still loading. Hang in there. You know, I don't mind helping you at all, because when I was doing this, I've been doing the sim since I was 18, and I remember having all the same questions, so don't feel bad. All right, so here's real time. Let's put the weather in. And you can see that it's loading. It says active, so clear, 7 square miles. Yeah, I don't know if that's right though. Okay. Yeah, I guess that kind of is. All right, we'll go with it. All right, so let's send the drone out to Lake Placid. And I can show you that you can switch it to day too, so it's kind of cool. But where am I right now? That's the airport. Let me get my sectional to help me. And it's north. Okay, so here's the runway. What runway is this? I don't know if we can read it. I'm trying to go north of the airport. Yeah, my lights are kind of playing with my eyes right now. 3-2, yeah, this is north. Okay. So Lake Placid, New York, out here in the distance at night. And would love to see the Olympic place, but I don't know where it is in relation to all this. So what you can do in the simulator, though, is that you can change this to daytime. How cool is that? And take a look around. Seems to be a school there or something. Uh-oh. Did it just freeze up? Man, this is not working with me tonight. Could just be loading data. So while we're doing that, let's get a look at Lake. Oh, yeah, it just froze up. It's loading stuff. So let's look at Olympics. Lake Placid. Alright. Lake Placid Club Lodges, Olympic Center Store. I'm looking at Google Maps right now to figure out where it is. So I'm thinking that it's around here. Regional Development, Lake Placid Olympic Center. Yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, so let's keep that for reference here. And that would mean that it is over here. This is the Olympic Center. You can see that they're using default building, so it's not going to look like the real thing all the way. But that is where the Olympics, I think, happen. That might be where the ice rink is. Yeah, Hal Brooks Arena is actually, let's see, it's this building right here. That's Hal Brooks Arena. So that's where the Miracle on Ice happened in 1980. And that's what Lake Placid looks like. There's the airport out there in the distance. And yeah, pretty rural, but kind of cool looking, you know? So, all right, let's go back to the aircraft here and talk about lights, shall we? All right, so first off, all your lights in the Cessna 172 are here. They are operated through the master has to be on. So I'm going to start up the plane here, okay? So, let me just mess with my quadrants here. All right, start the plane, you'd have the checklist, but you might as well do this with the 172. Seat tracks and backs are locked, so there's making sure the seats are locked in there. Avionics are off, they're double checking that. Your autopilot's off, they're double checking that. Throttle, you move it in 1/4 of an inch. Okay, mixture is full lean, which means it's all the way out like it is. Okay, you're gonna have your brakes pushed down. You see I have the brake pedals down. Okay, you're gonna turn your master on. I'm using switches, but they're right here. You turn these on. You'd have your beacon turn on. Okay, that means you're about to start the engine. Whenever the engine's about to be on or it is on, the beacon has to be on. It's kind of a symbol for, hey, the engine's on or it's going to be turned on. So it's kind of like a warning. So the beacon light is very important. It's the last light you're going to turn off too. After you turn off the engine, then you turn off the beacon. Okay, so that's why I say beacon on, and then you're going to say clear pop. You're going to yell that out here so people know you're about to start the engine. You look left and right and hopefully look behind you too. And now that you know it's clear, you're going to, on the 172 SP here, turn the key to start while you push the mixture in. So here we go. Clear prop. Okay. And actually I didn't do the fuel pump. The fuel pump would prime the engine, so that's probably why. But you know what else? Gotta turn the fuel on. That turns the master fuel on, so that fuel's gonna go in the engine. So again, now that we got the fuel on, we'll turn the fuel pump on, which is this switch. You have this all the way in for like five seconds. Then you pull it all the way out. That puts gas in there to start it out. Okay. Then you yell clear prop. You check like I told you. You're going to turn the key to start. Put the mixture all the way in. And then set it back to both once it starts. And there you go. That's how you start the engine in the 172. Beacon again's on because the engine's on. So you should see this light back here on the tail lighting up, which it is. That means the engine's on. So the beacon against this one back here. You see that? That means the engine's on. And that's the one that blinks to let people know that there's an aircraft going on. So, alright. After that, what you would do, according to the checklist, is check the oil pressure, which is right here. It always looks like that. It would be in the green in real life. And then it says lights as required. So, we have all these lights here. You have strobes, navs, taxi, land. If we're going to get the taxiing going on, it says lights as required. You don't have to turn them on. I just put the parking brake on. But if it says lights as required, I like to turn my lights on. Oh, hello. Don't be killing that guy in front of me. Again, set it to 1,000 RPMs. I like to turn the taxi and the landing lights on right away. That gets you maximum visibility. And what that does in the 172 is turns these lights on. Sometimes they could be in the front. That's why I looked here first. Sometimes they're on the wing. Okay, so let's look back in the aircraft. If I only put the landing light on, it's only one of those. That's the landing light. The taxi light is this one right there. And seeing that these are LED lights, you can see that they're kind of modern. The reason why they put them over here is because the old, well, at least the old lights, they used to cause heat. And that would not be good sometimes near the engine. So they try to dissipate the heat by putting them on the wing. Nowadays with LEDs, it's not as much of a problem. So, but typically, the landing light goes on if you're operating below 10,000 feet. It's so that people can see you even during daytime. It's very important. And the taxi light is honestly used more for night so that you can see in front of you. and I leave both on because I want maximum visibility. So I do landing and taxi at the same time, and I leave them on maximum visibility. All right, which leads us to nav and strobe. All right, we're gonna handle the nav next. Typically, in the planes I fly, which aren't newer 172s like this, there's a thing called ADS-B, and that's a newer technology. And what it does is it sends out a radio signal from the plane you're flying, so that other planes, they can hook up what they call an ADS-B receiver. It could be on the plane, like on the 530 will show up, or you can get a handheld receiver like I do, and I put it in whatever plane I'm flying that doesn't have a receiver in it. And it'll send all the data of where planes are and how high or low they are on my tablet for that movable map I use. And that's like the newest technology for general aviation and stuff like that. Even airliners use it. So ADS-B. And what they'll do is they'll retrofit. In other words, seeing that the older aircraft didn't have ADS-B back then, they'll typically take out one of these nav lights, and they'll install a nav light so it has the red light here, but it'll also have the ADS send out here, or the transmitter, to send out your position to other aircraft. So the nav lights are located here and here. Right, left is red, right is green, so that way you can tell the position. If the aircraft is coming at you like this, you see green on your left, and right is on your right would be red. You can tell the aircraft's coming at you. If you see it the other way, you see well, let's get a position here. So and behind the aircraft, you'll see red on this side at night and green on this. Nav lights are like position lights, so they kind of tell me if you're heading towards me or away from me. But the reason why I was talking about the ADS-B is if you have a retrofitted aircraft with that thing, you need the nav on to make sure that gets power for the ADS-B. So when I turn that on and I do that, you can see that it turns on the green. That's the right wing of your aircraft, and the red, which is left. And the nav, because it kind of tells you if you're heading towards or basically the direction you're flying to other aircraft. Okay, at night you need nav lights. At night it's good to leave the taxi and the landing light on for maximum visibility, and the beacon has to be on whenever the engine's on. So you turn it on right before you start, and you only turn it off right after you stop the plane, the engine. Which then leaves us with strobe lights. Typically, you don't turn on strobe lights till you go to what we do the run-up. Well, till right at the end of the run-up, which is where we test the engine out. If you look at any of my videos, streaming videos, you'll see me do run-ups every time before I take off from the airport. Again, that's to test the engine and the lights and make sure everything is work. Like these lights will be lighting up and stuff like that. But then you'll turn on the strobe lights after, and what that does is they're on the wings. They're these things right here. You can see it flashing kind of. They're seen more at night than day. You don't have to use them during the day. They're more for nighttime, but I put them on during day anyways because, again, maximum lights means more visibility. So some people might disagree with me on that, but I asked my instructor and I agreed with his reasoning. It's called maximum visibility. But they just kind of strobe there. Again, for nighttime, those are very bright lights, and you can see those from a far distance. So at night, it'll give you enhanced visibility. And that's why you don't put them on until after you get done with the run-up or about to take the runway, because these can blind people. So right now, that guy, or that girl right there, excuse me, didn't see from the... Oh, that is a guy. Is that a guy? No, that's a lady. Okay, that lady would probably be blinded a little bit by these strobe lights, which is why you don't turn them on right away until you're ready to take the runway and take off. And this master switch is what turns on all the electronics inside the aircraft, the radios and stuff. And all these switches and stuff. This is your GPS. So you can kind of see that all the lights are on their own system, and then all the electronics, other than that, the avionics are on their own too. These are your circuit breakers, so if anything like pulled more amps than it needed, these would pop out, and you push them back in to test them. If they popped out again, you know that you have an electrical problem. Including these over here. More circuit breakers. So in the old days they were fuses, which are worse because then you'd have to have spare fuses and pop them in. Circuit breakers are awesome because they stay there, and it's just like a house. You just pop them back on, and hopefully they stay on. So I hope that answered a lot of questions on the lighting. Does that make sense? You have any questions? I have no problem staying here for a little bit longer if you have any more questions. So, I mean, honestly, if it really helps people, and there's enough people, I might do like a streaming clinic on how to start and all that stuff, what I do in the real world with the 172. But I don't fly nice ones like this. This is the 172 SP. This is like the newest model. I fly the 172M, the 172N, and the 172P. And so, you want to do a start once more? Okay. Well, let's turn it off first off. So let's do a turn off here. So let's pretend I just parked. All right. What you want is a checklist, by the way. I use a real world one. I use the checkmate ones. I don't know if you can see this, but I have it digitized on my tablet. And then the rentals come with the cards. So that's okay. All right. So let's shut this thing off first. All right. So after landing, you make sure your flaps are up, which they are. That's this switch over here. Strobes come off after you get off the runway. Again, that's so you don't blind anybody. Okay, I'm gonna do my panel switches here. So let me just put all the lights back on. Okay, so all my lights are on. Strobe didn't go on though. All right, so it's not totally working. So you know what? I'll just use the panel then. All right, so they're all on. I got off the runway. I cleared the runway. I turned my strobes off first. I make sure my flaps are up, and I make sure that my trim is set for takeoff, which is right there at that line. You want that to line up the line we're looking at from above, so that's lined up. Okay, then I'll taxi back. I like to leave my taxi and landing lights on. They say that you could turn them off. You can, but I like maximum visibility, like I said. So I get back to where I park, and I park. Here I am. I'm parked. ELT is the emergency locator transmitter. That's this thing. If you hit the ground like you crashed, that thing will go on automatically, and that is located behind the seats here. There's actually a little antenna. See this little antenna? That's hooked up to your emergency locator transmitter. That turns on when you have a crash, hopefully, and has its battery operating and everything. So it'll send out a signal saying, "Hey, have a problem here." But we make sure that that's silent. You could turn the radio to 121.5 and just make sure it's not transmitting. Avionics, it says off, so we turn off the avionics master here. Okay. Probably turn that off too. All right. We're also going to turn off all the lights except for beacon because we're about to turn this thing off. So we have to leave the beacon on. The other lights we don't need anymore because we're parked. So we turn them all off. Beacon's on because the engine's still on. Okay. Then it says mixture full lean. So to stop the engine, we pull the mixture out all the way. And that stars it of gas and turns it off. Then we're going to go over here to our magnetos. We're going to turn that off all the way. And then we turn the master off. And then finally, since everything else is off, we turn the lights off. And that's how you stop it. And that's how you turn it off. And then you just put the chocks in and you're good to go. Also put the control lock in, which is this little thing that goes right here. See that little hole? It's usually a little bar, and it has this metal plate go here so that you can't turn on the plane without removing it. And that locks the controls in place so they don't turn around in the winds and stuff. Alright, starting it up. Last thing we're going to do tonight. Alright, we have the checklist again. And this would go on, the fuel would be on in your pre-flight. So when you check the plane, make sure it's all good on the outside and everything's working properly. Then you go to the inside. This would already be on because you make sure that's on. But in the simulator, you got to put it on. If you turn magnetos off, then you're not going to get a spark to make the fuel burn. And then you'll be pumping in a little extra fuel and you could flood the system a little bit. So that's why you want to turn the fuel off, let it burn off the fuel, and then basically turn the mags off. Mags are like your spark plugs, for lack of a better term, in your engine. So you turn those off, and then the master off to turn off all electrical power. Does that make sense? Okay. I hope that made sense. So we check to make sure our seats are locked here, because those can slide back. That'd be bad. It has happened to me in flight. You just kind of inch it up till it locks. Avionics are off, so you just make sure that this thing's off, so that way you don't blow anything. Autopilot's off. You're not going to see anything on there if the avionics master is off. Throttle, they want you to do 1/4 of an inch. That's so you get some fuel going in there when you do start it. Mixture's full lean, which means all the way out. All right. Brakes are set, so you're pushing down on the pedal so it doesn't move anywhere when you start it. All right. Okay. Now it says clear prop next, but I like to turn the master and the beacon on first. Because when you yell clear prop, you want to make sure you do it right before you start. So I'm going to do it my way. The master goes on, right? You're using battery power right now, so you have to get this moving. The beacon goes on because you're about to turn the engine on. And then you're going to yell clear prop out the window and look for people so that no one can get hit by your prop or your prop washer or anything like that, the wind from the prop. And then you're good to go. You want to do this pretty quick, though, because if you do this for a long time, you can wear down the battery. Okay, you yelled clear prop, so now you're good to go. You actually shouldn't have yelled clear prop because this needs a fuel pump. So we're going to turn the fuel pump on, and we're going to put the mixture all the way in. That pumps a little bit of fuel into where the fuel lines. Then we'll pull it out, turn the pump off. Now I yell clear prop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this key to start while I inch in the mixture. That gives a little fuel injection into the engine to get it started. So you just pump fuel into it. It's like a car. And you go clear prop, start, in with the in with the mixture. Good. And then I just turn this down ever so slightly to 1000 RPM. That's so you don't put too much fuel in there. And it has a nice idle, so it's not too low, it's not too high. And you won't foul the mags up. You won't get lots of corrosion and stuff on there. It's burning at a good rate right now. Once you do that, you're going to check your oil pressure. Make sure the oil is moving, it should be in the green, but it always does this in the simulator. That says lights as required. Again, you put the taxi land. And I like to put the nav lights. I pretend that this is the ADSB again, so I want that signal to come on right now. And then it says lights and mixture as required. So that's it. That's how you start it up. And then other than that, it's just seatbelts and harnesses. Make sure they're fastened. Flaps are up. We're just double checking. Heat vent defrost. You can put your cold air or you can put some heat in there if you want. And that says avionics on. So I flip the master here. I turn my transponder on. Make sure everything's working. And then you get the ATIS, the weather. So you get all that stuff because the ATIS are on. You set the altimeter to whatever it said. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Like that, good enough. And then ADSB would be on at this point. Sometimes it's in the transponder. The newer transponders have ADSB by pretending that it's in the nav light, so that's why I know it's on. I test the radio, so I'd call up to like the tower or traffic in the pattern. I'd say like Lake Placid traffic, Cessna Foxtrot radio check please. Hopefully someone hear me and call them back. It says taxi light is required. I already put it on. I like having it on when I taxi. Brakes, I would test them on the way out, so you just kind of have a little throttle here. My parking brake's on. Oh, no, it was off. And then you just test the brakes, make sure they're holding, so that means that your hydraulics are good. It'd be a very bad day if that didn't have that happen. And then you're good to taxi out, and that's how you start it. So I hope that made sense. If it didn't, go back to the Eric Flight YouTube channel, check up Lake Placid streaming, and you can watch this all over again. So you can watch as many times as you want. And while you're there, try to subscribe and like, because I need more people to subscribe and like than that too. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on the Eric Flight YouTube. And again, the ultimate goal is I can monetize the videos, so that way I can have even more money to do more real world flights. I have another YouTube channel actually that pays for all my flying right now. But the more money, the more flights I can do, the longer flights I can do. And that's what we do. So I actually have a old video on the Flight YouTube channel about starting the 152. So that one's a really good video too. It's almost the same. That has a carbureted engine too. The temperature gauge is just to make sure that nothing's overheating. It's usually about down here when you start. And again, the pressure should be in the green. So, but it all depends on the plane. So you never trust the fuel right here, by the way. You always check in the pre-flight. You stick this little dipstick in there, and you see how much you actually have in the things. This is more of a, I'm in the plane, let's see how much I burned from when it was. But you never trust these things. You always check in the wings with a dipstick how much fuel you have. And then fuel flow, engine gas temperature. This is to set your mixture leaning when you're at cruise. So, again, your clock here. This is universal time. Local time's 1:22 right now in the simulator. And then this is a flight time, so you should be able to start that. I don't know how to start it in this though. Hold, reset, start. Estimated time, I don't know. It says inoperative, so that's why. Okay, but that would be a stopwatch, so you can not have to use a watch. So Yep, that's the left of the airspeed. And then with this thing, you get the outside air temperature. Does it in Celsius. Tells you how many volts is going through the system, which is 28. So if that was really low, you know you have an alternator problem. And 6-pack right here. These are your general things there. Your RPMs right down here. This is the tachometer right here. The way that they charge in the real world, though, is this OBS right here. So right now it says I did 66.6 hours. And at my school, it would cost about $135 an hour to fly the nicest 172 we have. You see how it's on, though? That usually is done by electronics. So as soon as you turn the electronics on, the Hobbs starts going. What do you mean inclinometer? You mean the altimeter? The altimeter, honestly, I'd have to research that again. It's been so long. But this uses electricity. Airspeed uses the rim pressure and the static port right here. And it basically does this calculation with the thing on the back of the... I don't know if it even gyro. It's been so long. I know I knew it for the private pilot check ride, but gonna have to check up that stuff. Turn coordinator can be electronic sometimes, but this one just has the ball slip. The DG, yeah, again, I have to research. I'm not gonna be dumb and say I know everything because I can't remember, but I have all the answers written down if I ever needed that. Something you do want to know, because if something fails, you kind of want to know if it's electrical or not. And again, these are your navs right here. This is typically this is your main ILS, so you can enter in a frequency here and dial into VORs and stuff. This is your secondary one, and then this right down here is usually the multi-directional, all-directional beacon thing. It's kind of old. It's right here actually. So see ADF. They're slowly fading that out. That's not even on the test anymore, and it's for the directional beacons of old, and it will tell you how to get to them by dialing it in. So, but the 530 is the newest, or one of the newer GPS systems. This is only found in one of the aircraft I usually fly, and then this is how you control the comm radios. You can listen to comm 2, I listen to comm 1, dial into nav 1, and you want to make sure you hear the Morse code to make sure you're on the right thing. This is the marker beacon. I never use that. And yeah, so that's a general overview, I guess. So I hope that helps. I'd have to review all that stuff though, and I probably will, obviously, now that I can't remember. So again, your fuel selector is right here. Usually you keep it on both, but let's say that your tanks become a little unlevel, one's lower than the other, you just switch it to whatever you need. And it's gravity fed, I believe. At least in the older Cessnas. I don't know about this one. Seeing that's fuel injected, it's probably pressurized. So, but yeah, hope that answered a lot of questions. It's a lot. It is a lot, but you have to understand how the airplane works at the check ride. On the oral part, they're gonna say like, what makes an engine go, basically. It's like compression. You have to say the gas comes in, and so I lucked out. My designated flight examiner didn't ask me a lot of stuff. He made me do a weight and balance. He asked me about the privileges of the private pilot license, so you have to know like what you can and can't do, stuff like that. And I mean, as far as the electronics, I've heard a lot of horror stories from like DFEs, designated flight examiners, that go like major in detail. But the way to approach the check ride is to basically say just as much as you need to and not go overboard, because if you say something wrong, they're gonna keep going after that until you go down this deep dark hole where you can't get out of. So, but all right, with that then, if we're okay, I'd like to sign off now, but I'm glad I could answer some questions. That's what I'm here for, because when I was starting the flight sim, I didn't have anyone telling me anything, and I missed a lot. So, but again, check out the videos on the Arc Flight YouTube channel. There's some I'm not a flight instructor, by the way, so don't take what I say as like this is the way you do it all the time. Definitely get a flight instructor if you're gonna do it for real. Definitely do not trust me on that, because I am not a designated certified flight instructor. But you can check out what I do know as a private pilot, and if you're just using the simulator, there's no reason why you can't look at that and learn from it. And also, try to like and subscribe while you're there. Also on Twitch, try to push that follow button, because we're getting closer to 50, and I can do a lot more when I become an associate there, because I can get more interactive stuff going on Twitch. But I appreciate everyone staying on tonight, and I hope to be helpful to you as well as being entertaining of some sort. So And from Lake Placid, New York on the simulator, signing off. America Foxtrot. We'll see you later.